Hey y'all, it's that Witchcraft TV guy again, that lone wolf Carter guy again, that www.witchcrafttv.online guy again, fair representation for all pagan witch and magic paths. Yeah, we were down. We were down for like 5 or 6 hours. And sometimes the streaming software that we use for Witchcraft TV, um, it goes offline, which crosses over to our website, the software, because it takes from numerous places. So it can put our website, the website, stays up, it stays, available, but the software that we use um, was doing maintenance. So that means we're doing maintenance. And, we just went through it, and they don't have a customer service. I can't be like, call them up and be like, yeah, we're not online right now. I'd like to know what's going on. There ain't nobody to call. They don't put out a number, which is kind of a monopoly thing. And the software that we use, to knowledge, it's one of the cheapest endeavors that I can provide, Witchcraft TV online, to the community and everything. The other deals and the other software is a lot more expensive, and this way is the cheapest. So we're keeping it. But yeah, it was a couple hours. We had some downtime. Now we don't have downtime anymore. So it's back up running and back to our regularly scheduled program, So I'm happy about that. A couple things going on this weekend. We should be having an interview this weekend with Alexander Cabot, who is bringing on a surprise special guest. In the conversation with Alexander Cabot, who is the first priesthood of the Cabot tradition, and he was recently over there across the pond in England. And in England, he was at Stonehenge. He had a wonderful hand fasting with his new husband, Alex. And we covered that hand fasting on Witchcraft TV. And it was awesome. But not only did he have that going on when he went over there, he also did some trekking to like Scotland. And all this is public knowledge, but he went out to Scotland and he has some interesting conversations and findings out that way too. So when we have him on this weekend, we're going to talk all about his trek. And he also released a brand new book. Yes, Alexander Cabot has released a brand new book, and we're going to be talking all about that book, how to get it, what's in it, what it's about. And I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it, so I'm not going to say it. But there's some stuff that's being talked about some things that, well, haven't really been talked about from this perspective. And I think that's exactly, what the community needs is authors out there that are writing books that are bringing new material to the horizon, where we have normally, like, within the past 10, 20 years, we have this regurgitation of the same old books just being rewritten in different ways, but there's no new material. For an example, in Discernment, when Llewellyn first came out with books, Llewellyn Worldwide, we had like Jessie Wicker Bell when she came out with that book. And Jessie Wicker Bell was actually teaching the founder of Llewellyn witchcraft, and then she was published through, Carl. And in those days, those were books that were never coming out, first of its kind. And that is the kind of books that we really need from our authors now. And I think, and I feel that Alexander Cabot, with his new books that are coming out, the new one that's coming out, these are the type of books that we're talking about. So yeah, catch that Lone Wolf show this weekend. And if everything goes to plan, we're going to have him on the Lone Wolf show and talk all about his new book, his trek with him going across the pond to Stonehenge and to Scotland, and find all about, what's going on there. So that's really, really exciting. Yeah, but we are back up online. We were down for a little bit for maintenance. And now that that's taken care of, we're back regularly scheduled programming. Real excited about that. We had some schedule changes for 2025. Off the top of my head, we got such good content with certain people in the craft that now they have their own shows. Like Oberonzel, he's got his own time slot. You can watch him 7 days a week. And you have other new shows that are in the talks. There's a show in the talks from the publicist of the Carillions of a brand new show to do with like a book club type of show. And it's just in the talks, and that's supposed to be coming forward. So we're looking out for that. We also have a brand new show. And actually, no, I'm sorry about that. The show with Alexander Cabot is not the Lone Wolf Show. We've had him on the Lone Wolf Show already. Alexander Cabot is going to have his own show on Witchcraft TV, and it's going to be about every month. He's going to have a show, and it's going to be an educational show, and it's going to be all about education. We're going to take a break, and I know that it's very, very important about the modern day shifts, the politics, and the protests that are going on. All that stuff's important, and we stand it. And Witchcraft TV is definitely on board with Pagan Solidarity. But we want to take a break, and we want to have some education stuff, and we're going to do that with Alexander Cabot this weekend and start off his brand new show that'll air once a month. Not really sure what's going on with Festival Fun. We did reach out to get a new show with that going on. AC Fisher Eldag has been pretty busy. A lot of people have been busy. And man, there's just some strange things going on in the world with different things, particularly like technology and stuff. But we'll figure it out. Before I go, I have a couple things on my mind. I was going through some archives of when Cloud the Pagan Rapper and myself were working to get together with collaborative efforts. And there are a few good tracks of Cloud and I where we worked together and created some really cool hip hop music. And I was going through some archives, and I found one with a band member from Hem Niger, and he's the throat singer. So the band member of Hem Niger, Cloud the Pagan Rapper, and myself, we came out with the track, and it was it was a great song. It was a really good song, and it was unreleased because, well, and somebody brought this to my attention before, there was too many cooks in the pot. There was too many people in the pot. So everybody kind of, it wasn't ready. It's not right. It's not good enough. And it just never was released. And I can remember taking several hours editing and re-recording and doing things. And it just was never released. And this thing is like 2 or 3 years in the making. Well, I contacted Cloud the Pagan Rapper, and I contacted the Hem Niger band member today and said, "Hey man, what's up with this track? Let's get it out. I'd like to have it out." It's a great song. I was listening to it all day, and Cloud was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's put it out. Let's do it. And you're responsible for everything." I said, "Okay, gotcha. Not a problem." At the end of the day, Witchcraft TV is not Harold Carter anymore. It is now a nonprofit entity with board members. So now I have to be very, very careful of what goes on. So putting that particular, releasing it exclusively to that platform. Hem Niger's, which I don't even think he's in the band anymore. He may or may not be, but he doesn't want it released for whatever reason, and so now it just can't be released. But I'm going to keep it in the archives. I'm going to continually try to see what we can do. I mean, I don't know. I can sit on it for 10 years, but I promise you this: if I'm getting ready to kick the bucket, I'm gonna release it right before I kick the bucket. It's just such a great song. Another thing that happened today that kind of irks me that I wanted to put out there, express myself about, is I reached out to a particular practitioner, and they're into, like, I think it's telekinesis, like when you You look at you look at something on the table, and you kind of go like this, and it moves. You know, like you put something on the table and you go like this. You go, and it goes moves. You know, well, this particular person that I said, hey man, and he made a statement that any witch that doesn't do telekinesis is not a witch. And I'm just thinking in my head, no, he didn't just say that. He didn't just say that. Um, I'm not even going to explain why that's not okay to say, that you're not this if you don't do this, as far as like being a practitioner of the craft and all those kind of things. It is very true that there are many assortments of different kinds of witches, and there's different types of crafts. Witches that don't practice telekinesis can definitely be a witch. Well, anyways, I reached out to the practitioner who made the statement and asked them if they wanted to have an interview on Witchcraft TV. And they said, and they got back to me about a week later, and they said that they wanted to be interviewed, but under the condition that Witchcraft TV pays them $200. Unfortunately, Witchcraft TV doesn't have money to pay people for interviews. It's not really something that I've really experienced before. I've only had that happen once before, when I reached out to Fairuza Balk from that 1996 film, The Craft. I reached out to her wanting an interview, and she wanted $500 for an interview. And we just don't have that type of cash. I mean, if I did have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, maybe I would entertain that, because it would be a good experience and everything. And I know that their time is valuable and everything. But I do ask this one question for practitioners of contemporary witchcraft, and I know that this is in a lot of the. I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, make me jump the plank to my doom, to my death if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the craft should never be cheapened with the motive of money. And when you start using your craft with a motive of money, it cheapens your craft, because the motive and the, the intent and the passion and the will and the fire is no longer there to sustain your magic. It's there to sustain Benjamin Franklin's in your pocket. And I'm pretty sure that you shouldn't be using the craft for financial gain or motive. The only exception I've ever seen is, tarot card readings. I guess it's okay with fair exchange. We do this. I wash your back. They wash your back. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure. If I reach out to, particular celebrities or people who have a large following, and they want compensation for an interview, is that okay? Because to me, I guess if they do have a large following, if they're very famous and, they're prestigious, and, I'd love to have them on the show, and I wouldn't mind paying them. But you think it's okay for them to do that? I'm just not really sure, because I know that I've interviewed several famous witches, several famous pagans, and there's some comments up here. Eric Cooper, hey, we kicking it? Yeah, we're kicking it, Eric. I don't believe in love spells either. Yeah, we're kicking it. Lone Wolf and kicking it. Yeah, I'm just out here kind of just filling up space and just talking about what I've been going through today, whatever. Because at the end of the day, yeah, like I program the station, Witchcraft TV. We have a board. We do things. There's many people involved in the station, but at the end of the day, like I'm a human being. Like I'm a person too, like I have a normal life. I've dedicated all my streams and TikToks and Facebooks for the network, where, I just haven't really left room for myself. So once in a while I get on here and just kind of lone wolf and kick it. But yeah, when you use the craft for personal gain, for money like that, and you're using it specifically for that, rest assured, it definitely cheapens your craft. And I also want to make a point that just because you don't practice telekinesis doesn't mean that you're not a witch. I have bumped into witches that don't do magic at all or any type of things like that. And they just observe the Sabbats, observe Isbets. They love nature. Their thumbs and fingers are at that soil, and they don't do magic at all. But they are still witches. What we got here, Cooper? Any kind of magic that affects or impacts others should be frowned upon. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean the rule of thumb with that, particularly, what's been documented for us to read in modern times is that you never want to put out a spell for somebody else without their permission, and that was kind of the unwritten, undogmatic rule, was that you get permission first, and most good practitioners these days ask for permission too. And it's just one of those things. If you're doing spells for yourself, I don't know, maybe you should ask yourself for permission. You should, or whatever. But so yeah, telekinesis. Not every witch has to know telekinesis, for one. There's many different forms. Using the craft for personal gain, for financial reasons only, it rubs me the wrong way. I can remember going into a few like metaphysical shops, because I travel around the country. If I see a witchy shop, metaphysical shop, I'm there. I jump right in there, like look around, just all smiles, looking at all their stuff and, talking to the people and everything. And the majority of the time I go into places like that, you just see some really, really cheap places where that they're not involved in nature-based spirituality or metaphysics or magic, and they're just doing it for profit. And sometimes that works up. I mean, most of them are like, they're rock hounds. You go in there, there's a bunch of rocks and gems, and they're all polished. And back in my day, if you had a rock or a stone and they polished it and they put like a coating over it, it suffocated the rock. How are they going to breathe? And, how are you going to have energy exchange with these minerals if they're like suffocated that way? But don't take my word for it. I've always felt and embraced a magical law that I learned a very long time ago with somebody that practiced Telema, which was everything is true in one sense, everything is false in one sense, yet everything is permissible. And then we're getting on to like that truth is subjective, depending on time period, culture, and truths change all the time, So yeah, everything's good in the woods out here for that lone wolf. We got that new merchandise for Witchcraft TV. We got the shirts, we got teddy bears, we got clocks, all kinds of new stuff coming out. I'm going to try to update the store with new stuff all the time. And the merchandise for Witchcraft TV is solely to use as a platform to generate funds for our newly developed nonprofit organization. We don't make money on Witchcraft TV. Most of the time I'm paying out of pocket, or it's functioning by sponsors and donations. Speaking of which, I need to do some more shout outs of our sponsors, of our donations, and recognize them a lot more. But it does take a lot of work to do these things. And sometimes I can only do so much. Just one person, behind my laptop, in the cyber worlds itself, trying to, configure, what's going on with Witchcraft TV. Magic is not in any way a requirement to be a witch. No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not. And, the mere definition of a witch, if you're talking linguistics, like language, we know that it's transforming. The definition just keeps changing, and it's going to continue to change because it's evolving. And that's the good thing about the craft, witchcraft, Wicca, and even pagans in under any umbrella, is that we're evolving, just like the seasons of the year. It's ebbing, it's flowing, it's a complete circle, it's always changing. It doesn't stay stagnant. And that's how we're going to stay alive. And that's why we're always going to be relevant. I feel like having no central point of hierarchy or grand master leader in our communities, I think is a valuable asset, because what it gives, biased communities that hate us, that want to extinguish our spirituality because of their own idio like just because they're nuts. There's no central person to try to get, because if you take out like one leader or you silence one leader, there's just 4 or 5 that are going to pop up, and there's probably leaders all around the country that we just never hear about because they're just very, very quiet. And yes, secrecy does yield power. It does yield power. It does. So yeah, I have myself in a different kind of boat here in media, and I'm surprised that these target groups don't come after me. I did have one of the white nationalists email me, but all they had said was basically that I needed Jesus, and and I needed, and I'm just like, okay, and I'm at the part of my path nowadays where I'm just kind of looking at the archetypes of all the faiths, and it just feels like I'm learning that Jesus is also Dionysus. It's the same archetype, and I think that's very important, very cool. So that's what's up. Merchandise out there. Make sure you check it out. The Witchcraft Herald's out there. And I think the government is doing something with the botany practitioners in Texas, where they're taking some particular herbs or making them illegal or some kind of capacity. And I'm going to make sure that an article is written up and put on the Witchcraft Herald for that. Maybe even a bit of Witchcraft TV news. But yeah, same old channel, and we're rolling. If you are a content creator, if you are a pagan, a witch, indulging in magical activities, you have a podcast, you have a show already, you want to start a show, reach out. Let's have you on Witchcraft TV. Plenty of spots available. We have plenty of content already. We can always use more. We are archiving the revival of contemporary paganism, of contemporary witchcraft, and we're doing it together. Before I go, I want to tell every one of you that whatever you're going through, whatever's going on, it's not so bad, and you can get out of it, and you can stop, and you can come into your power. You can do it. I know I have. I've come a long way. You can too. Don't ever let anyone take your fire. And if you ever need someone to talk to, we have a chat room on Witchcraft TV called Witchcraft TV Teachings. You can check it out in the Facebook group. And there's 300 people in there. You never know who's going to be in there. There's priestesses, priests, druids, Telemites, magic peoples of all kinds, always showing up. Keep it right here on Witchcraft TV. And remember, we're all human. I'm human. Just a guy walking a path. No one special at all. Just keeping it real. Kicking it with Lone Wolf. Nice to see y'all. We're back up on the station. We were down for a little bit. Now we're back. Routine maintenance is over. Make sure you keep it around and this weekend and check out that new show with Alexander Cabot, where we're going to talk about Stonehenge, Scotland, and other in his new book that came out. Can't wait to hear all about that.